on this edition of the PCC Multiverse. On this week's edition, the coronavirus takes over. Vin Diesel's eyes are bloodshot, and it's time for our March TV update. All this and more as we reach our next stop, the PCC Multiverse. And we're back with another episode of the PCC Multiverse. This is Gerald Glassford from Pop Culture Cosmos and Game Source and Inside Sports Fantasy Football, and also the Lakers Fast Break podcast. Thank you for listening to all of our great shows. But it wouldn't be a PCC Multiverse without my good friend who's here with me again and who's still going strong, and I'm so thankful for that. You got to check out what he's doing today at popculturecosmos.wordpress.com, plus also his great show, Topicocalypse, and of course his book. Now that a lot of people should have a little bit more time on their hands, please order his great book, Congratulations, You Suck. It is my good friend. It is Josh Peterson, whose iMac is still being fixed.
What's up? I forget I don't have to actually lean towards my monitor because I have my microphone here. It's being fixed currently. Hopefully it's working by Sunday and I can get back on that sweet low voice.
Yeah, as I call it off the air, I call it your radio sexy voice. When you get on you got the microphone hooked up and everything's working fine on it. But you know what? Hey, I'm glad that you can get on the show any way you can. We just truly appreciate you doing so. You made every effort to keep in line with us right here at the Pop Culture Cosmos. And this show doesn't run effectively without you in it, man. So I'm just glad to have you here. Hoping everybody is well. Please stay safe and please stay healthy. But the coronavirus is the major talk of the day, and we're going to talk about that at the front of the show. So there's all this stuff going on with concerns the coronavirus and pop culture. So we'll give you a little bit of update on that. Plus also as well, we're going to be talking on the back end about the return of amazing stories. And while some of you may not know what that means, we're going to go ahead and detail the latest Steven Spielberg project that's now on Apple TV+. Plus also Neo 2. You didn't know about Neo 2, but it's actually a great video game that's a sequel to another great video game, which totally went under the radar as well. And we'll talk about Neo 2 coming up here in a bit. And we mentioned Bloodshot. Yes, Bloodshot is out in theaters. Yes, a movie is actually being released out in theaters along with two others. So we'll talk about that and the not so great prospects for the film Bloodshot, the latest effort from Vin Diesel, and why his career can't get on track when he's not in the car or talking like a tree. But Josh, it is the coronavirus, man, and as you and I both have seen over the past 24, 48 hours, it has completely enveloped this country, and over the past weeks, it's enveloped the entire world as far as taking over every aspect of our lives. And that has actually, progressed into our area of expertise right here, and that's pop culture, because we're seeing so many different places, so many different events, so many different facets of the things that we were looking forward to in pop culture now get either canceled, delayed, or outright just moved off the schedule entirely. And that to me is very sad, and that to me is very disappointing as someone who loves pop culture.
Yeah, I mean, I'm seeing all these things popping up today in my newsfeed. Like, it was surprising. Yesterday, obviously, they declared it as an epidemic, and it is kind of
going, pandemic.
Sorry, and it's kind of going in the opposite direction of what people thought it would. People thought by now that that curve would be going down, but now it seems to just be getting worse. So it was not surprising, I guess, to hear about like sports cancellations, but the movie ones really kind of hit a little harder because that really hits home for a lot of people. Like, where if big companies like Disney are canceling releases, then that there's something to be worried about. And like, I was talking to Brian Wegner today, and he was saying he kept on telling his wife, because his wife, his wife is from China, and she's facing that I guess you can call it racial tension from people over this whole virus. And but he was saying, as long as Disneyland is still open, will be fine. And then lo and behold, today they closed down Disneyland. So there is a lot going on here. Yes. Yeah. So, I mean, movies, Disneyland, theme parks, Universal Studios closing down. It's crazy, man. I'm wondering when this is going to end.
They've also talked about closing Disney World, also as well as far as major movies. Mulan is now up in the air. That was coming out in a couple weeks. A Quiet Place Part 2, which was coming out next week, that has been delayed. Fast and Furious 9 has been delayed. Those are just some of the major movies that are out there that have been delayed or canceled at this point in time.
And New Mutants too. Like that was one that it's just been hit, with thing after thing after thing.
Well, with that one, I think at this point in time, that one's going to probably set up to fail because, like you said, that one had so many delays, reshoots, everything of that nature. Plus, you've got Broadway that is closed entirely. It's dark right now for one of the few times ever in history. You've got so many different aspects, the NBA, the NHL, professional golf. There's so many different aspects as far as sports that have also decided to suspend all games at this point in time. Major League Baseball has suspended its spring training. They've delayed the start of their regular season. I mean, we could go on and on and on. Conventions, our appearance at such things as WonderCon here at your area of at your neck of the woods, that was recently, as far as today, shut down. E3 said this week it's canceled. CinemaCon here in Las Vegas is canceled. The NAB, National Association of Broadcasters, that's been canceled. So many different facets of our lives. Music festivals all over the country, they've been canceled. Pro wrestling events, they've been canceled or modified and put into smaller studio locations without an audience from both All Elite Wrestling and also the World Wrestling Federation. WrestleMania is at this point in time, as we're recording, still very much up in the air. I'm thinking it's not going to be able to get through, but again, that there's been no official announcement as of yet, because right now there's state governors and mayors, letting people know there's not going to be events being held where there's large gatherings of people. They just will not allow it. This disease that's going on and spreading so quick like wildfire is just not allowing people to go ahead and do what they normally need to get done.
Yeah, have you been reading about the XFL?
Yes, the XFL, Vince McMahon actually suspended all games for that.
Did he really? Because last I heard they were playing, but they weren't letting anyone in the audience. So was that an update on that?
That is an update on that, is that he did suspend operations for the XFL at this point in time. That's the thing. These leagues are deciding to whether or not they should go ahead and play in front of an empty audience, or they should go ahead and just suspend all right. The NBA, I think, was the deciding factor for a lot of these leagues because Rudy Gobert contracted the coronavirus after he was mocking it on Monday. By Wednesday, he was sick in his hotel room, testing positive for the coronavirus, which set off a chain of events. His teammate that he is, very close to, Donovan Mitchell, he also tested positive the next day for coronavirus, and that again set off the chain of events where Commissioner Adam Silver had to go ahead and just outright suspend the season at this point in time. So I think that showed to the NHL, Major League Baseball, and all these others, the XFL even, and to all these other outlets that are out there, PGA golf and all that it's just not worth the public health interest out there to go ahead and conduct these events, because you don't want to be that one event that goes that goes and sets off a chain reaction of devastating proportions.
Yeah, and that's that's a big thing, because like the sporting. So let me ask you this though: with like all the sporting industry is taking such a big hit like that, how long do you think they can afford to be shut down?
Well, most of them are trying to say at this point, and they're going to reevaluate it in 30 days. I mean, this is a killer. And then it not just affects the leagues and the players. and the television markets and all that, because you're not getting any television money, you're not getting any attendance money, you're not getting an arena. But it also is a trickle down effect to the employees that work from where everything from the parking to the vending to concessions to pretty much every aspect of what you see as a sporting event. It's all being affected by it. And the costs, as far as from a financial standpoint, I mean, right now, I think probably the best word I could say is immeasurable, because you don't know. We've never undergone this type of catastrophic event where it's affected worldwide events. I mean, we're seeing as far as EuroLeague soccer, and you're very well aware that soccer is so important to Europe and Asia and things of that nature. And they've basically either held matches in empty arenas or just canceled outright. And again, we've seen the financial costs there. We don't even know what we're going into, because as some have already indicated, this is uncharted territory.
Yeah, like I really don't know what to expect next. Like I'm waiting for an announcements, from the businesses surrounding us. Like I went to Del Taco tonight, and there was nobody in there. Del Taco would not let you touch the hot sauce packets. It wouldn't let you touch the forks or the napkins or even the lids to your drinks, and all these businesses, I keep expecting announcements that they're going to close. The grocery stores are going to close. Target's going to close. The restaurants are going to close. Like it really is. It's, we're all reacting, but I'm wondering, like, what is the solution to it though? It's like, is it going to hit where this becomes an endemic, right? Where it just becomes something that we contract every day and life goes on? Or is there some kind of plan? Is the hope to have everything like shut down for 30 days and then have that curve the spread of it and hope that's that? Or what is the plan going on here, and how long can our economies afford to be shut down? That's the bigger question. And what is it going to do to life as we know it?
You're right, and we're, like I said, we're just going into this just vast nothingness that there's really nothing we can say that's going to change it until this subsides, at least to some extent, in the favor of public health. And you're right. Who knows? 30 days from now, it could be ebbs and tides. That's also been speculated, that this could, okay, we all stay in our houses for 30 days and then we come out and the disease goes wild again. So that could happen. So we don't even know at this point in time how to effectively deal with the virus. We're just taking guesses and throwing darts and seeing what sticks. I'm just hoping for the best for everybody out there. Just, again, you practice good hygienic habits, and if you can out there, please stay safe, stay inside, listen to us here at the Pop Culture Cosmos or any of your favorite podcasts, or watch TV, or there's YouTube or anything out there. Just please, if you don't have to go outside, please don't do it.
Yeah, they just released a thing saying the Canadian Prime Minister's wife tested positive for it too.
Tom Hanks, award-winning Academy Award-winning actor, he and his wife both contracted coronavirus, and I know in case of Tom Hanks, he was shooting an Elvis movie in Australia at the time. So yes, he's been quarantined. It's affecting so many different people at various levels. This disease does not discriminate between the rich and the poor, the famous and the non-famous. So yeah, it's just been a very scary time for all of us. I know there's a lot of people out there that have been talking about, okay, we shouldn't be taking too many of the supplies. It shouldn't be, people are just mass buying, panic buying, things of that nature. But people are scared, man. There's a lot of fear out there, and it's hard to tell them, you're crazy. This point in time last week, excuse me, sorry, I don't have it. Point in time last week, you couldn't, you thought that, maybe you could joke it off, or maybe it'd be something that, like you said, would just go away. Unfortunately, that's not the case, my friend. And we're now at a point where a lot of people are really starting to fear for their lives. And it's just hard to tell them you're crazy. It's hard to tell them anymore that you're overreacting.
Yeah, I mean, so I've been reading a lot of stuff released by the World Health Organization, and they're saying that, it's really impossible to track the numbers on this thing. A lot of the 3.4 is kind of high. They said a lot of people who Can you hear that as a helicopter? Am I mute for a second? Okay.
That actually, I can't hear a helicopter.
Okay. All right. So yeah, they're saying that it's hard to get accurate statistics on this, and they're saying that the death rate's probably a lot lower than what's being reported, but it's still hard to know because there's so little known about this virus and exactly like what it does, and a lot of cases are being reported as being mild, but people are still afraid, and I totally understand that. It's just I was talking to someone today and they're like, it's not really a matter of, if we get it, it's a matter of when. And it's almost better. He was, in his opinion, he's saying it's almost better for people to get it and then be able to build up that immunity to it, as opposed to, not going about their lives. But I mean, everyone, I get the panic, I get the fear. It's just, what is truth and what is fiction? That's what I've been trying to do research on here.
But it's hard to say, okay, I want to go ahead and contract the virus so I can build up antibodies, because we don't know exactly with 100% assurity that who it's going to affect, just as a mild case, or who it's going to affect as as something more severe. So that's why I think everybody is worried at this point in time, is you don't know if you get it, if it's going to be a death sentence, or it's just going to be something that you feel like you have the flu for a couple of weeks and that's it. So you just don't know. I mean, the statistics bear one thing based off of age, especially if you're over 60, you have underlying health conditions that really puts the nod not in your favor. But again, we don't know that with 100% surety, because we've seen people out there that have been reporting that have the illness that were previously healthy without those conditions still feel the effects quite a bit as well.
Yeah, exactly. Like we don't know. Some cases are mild, some cases are severe. Some people have it, don't even know they have it. Like there's cases of this being asymptomatic, and that's the scariest part too, is that if you don't feel sick, you feel fine, but you're carrying it. Like how are you supposed to prevent something like that? You don't even know about it. How are you supposed to isolate yourself? So there's so many unknowns here, and granted, it hits everybody differently. So it's really hard to know anything, right? Is it, how safe are you if you get it and then you get over it? You're still dealing with, you have the scar tissue in your lungs that needs to heal. And then what's it going to, do you truly build up an immunity to it? Do you get the antibodies to it? Or does it get worse next time you get it? There's a lot of things that we don't really know. But then again, it's being reported that we're like 18 months away from an or a vaccine. So this is crazy, man. Like it's completely unpredictable.
You're exactly right, my friend. And for right now, it's playing a major effect on the future of everything we talk about in pop culture. So stay tuned to us right here at the Pop Culture Cosmos. We'll be giving you updates on what's going on each and every week on our shows. We're still going to be able to continue them. We're still going to be continuing our shows on Monday and Friday. We're going to do them as best we can despite the circumstances. We hope you continue to listen to us here at the Pop Culture Cosmos. Again, everybody's dealing with this out there. We just hope, again, from all of us here at the Pop Culture Cosmos, again, we are just wishing for you safe and health, and safe to stay safe, and continued health to everyone out there. What are your thoughts on the coronavirus and how it's affected all the various things in pop culture? Do you think it's an overreaction, or do you think there's not enough being done to fight this disease? Share us your thoughts, popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Also as well, Pop Culture Cosmos on Pop Culture Cosmos, Humanity Media, and Game Source on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as well. Well, coming up next, we've got Jessica Boggs with our March TV update. And then coming up after that, it's Josh and I talking about some amazing stories, some Neo 2. And Josh, I think your eyes are looking a little bit bloodshot when it comes to Vin Diesel. We'll talk about that in a little bit more on the back end of the show. This is the PCC Multiverse. And we're back to close out the show. This is PCC Multiverse. Want to thank so much again, Jessica Boggs, for being part of our show once again with her great March TV update. And I also want to give a big thank you to Radio Cobleskill for allowing us to be on the air with them for over 2 years, cannot thank enough for having to be a part of their station. Unfortunately, their station was shut down, or at least suspended for a period, for an extended period of time. So we do appreciate everything that 105.9 Radio Copaskill did for us, and from all of us here at the Pop Culture Cosmos, everyone related to that to that radio station. We wish you all the best. Josh, before we head on out, 3 quick things to go ahead and hit up with everyone. And first off is, I don't know, you might be too much of a young man on this, but Amazing Stories just hit Apple TV Plus. It's a revision of some of one of the, I don't know if it's one of the better projects, but I think it's one of the better projects on a personal nature that Steven Spielberg was ever a part of. And I think the best way that's been described about it this week is, think about a family-friendly version of The Twilight Zone with all these stories from random places, random people doing, getting, these magical things happening to them in their lives that somehow, usually for the most part, create a happy ending. And the stories, Amazing Stories, did hit the airwaves on Apple TV Plus. The one thing I want to ask is, have you really heard about this in detail? Were you familiar with it? And the second of all is, when Rob McCallum and I were talking about last week about the status of Apple TV Plus, I was kind of a little bit more pessimistic on how their ways have been, on how their, how the network has been going for them for so far. I don't think their content and their quality has been great so far, and their content certainly is nowhere near what everybody else's is. But again, they're Apple, so obviously they could just hit the switch, it can change instantly. What, as a second question to you on that, do you think that could actually be something that could help lift the Apple TV Plus to be a better experience overall?
Okay, wait, hold on. You veered off a little bit. What was the first question exactly? Is it what I think of Amazing Stories?
Were you familiar with the Amazing Stories concept?
Okay. No, I mean, I'm just now reading about it. I had never heard of it before. Kind of just from what I'm reading, it seems like a cleaner version of like Black Mirror and was the Twilight Zone that you had just mentioned. If it is something is it something that's meant to like tell inspirational tales, or is it something that's just meant
something like that? Yeah, and like the late Robert Forster was in one of the episodes. He's like grandpa getting superpowers. For some reason, he gains superpowers, and I believe has to save the day in some form or fashion. It's just mystical, magical stories of something happening to people, random people, and then just, like I said, usually equating to a happy ending or a different kind of ending per se, as opposed to the always dark or bleak endings that Black Mirror and the Twilight Zone usually represent at the end of their shows.
Yeah. Okay. So I mean, I like this concept a lot. I have a hard time following these types of shows, but I love how it's done though. I love it kind of reminds me of those old, remember those old, these are before both of our time, but the old pulp magazines, right? Where they had writers would send in things, and Pulp Fiction was always like super clean. You just had that era where people were drawing covers for them that were slightly inappropriate, but like, that's what it reminds me of, right? You have all these tales of heroes, tales of aliens, superheroes, whatever it might be. They're very short, contained things, and you could go out and buy a pulp magazine, get 10 stories in it. That's kind of what this reminds me of.
Well, like I said, it's something that I'm very curious in seeing if it's going to rekindle some of that magic. Now, mind you, it came in with a lot of hoopla when it debuted on NBC, but it really didn't have much of a extended history, whether it was because of ratings were okay, or whether it was just the fact that I think Steven Spielberg lost interest in the project and really had to go ahead and start doing movies again, or was too busy doing movies pretty much at that point in time. I think that Amazing Stories, the concept, is something that is needed for Apple TV Plus. I really think that at this point in time, I really think that it should be something that a lot of people should go out of their way to watch when it comes to Apple TV Plus, because there's not much there right now. If you look and see what's there right now, yeah, there's a lot of big names attached to it, but there really isn't much in the way of substance. I know that series from M. Night Shyamalan was the last thing that they promoted because that came out after the initial debut of the network, and I think that right now they're in a state of flux, along with Disney Plus. Both of those outlets, they need more. They need something more. Yes, Disney has the entire Disney library at its convenience, but Apple doesn't have that as of yet. But it looks to me, as I spoke to Rob, that Apple needs to get something going within itself and within its structure to make Apple TV Plus worth something. It reminds me of what we used to talk about when you talked about Amazon Prime, and how Amazon Prime used to be the throwaway thing that Amazon used to just say like a pet project somewhere, until they finally got serious with it. And they put out a lot of darn good shows out on it. Apple TV Plus is just at that point where it's just like this little pet project. And with amazing stories, I'm hoping that will kick off more interest into the network, that maybe Apple will realize, hey, people are watching this. Maybe we should put more money and more time into Apple TV Plus.
Yeah, but it's almost like in order to start a streaming business or channel these days, you almost have to have a huge catalog of shows already built up. Like you have to have all that content prepared. As with Apple, all the stuff's original, right? So like their talk show stuff, easy, right? Even Disney Plus, like the Jeff Goldblum thing, I'm sure that was easier and less expensive to do. But you almost have to have things that it's like a process that's almost 3 or 4 years in the making, because you have to have all this stuff recorded and ready to go at launch, or else you're going to have these you put out 12 shows and people are going to watch all these 12 shows or not watch the 12 shows, just watch the ones they want, and there's going to be like a space between that and whenever they feel like watching something else, or whenever you feel like releasing something else. So in order to be competitive, it almost feels like you have to have over 50 shows ready at launch.
And that's why I think HBO Max might be, a lot more ready when it debuts, because not only they'll have the whole Time Warner consortium at their leisure as far as all the stuff that they're bringing in and all the stuff that they'll have at their convenience to go ahead and show off. It'll be, obviously something that we saw the Disney Plus. I mean, people will be very excited to have it because they'll have, they'll be very excited to have it because they'll have all this great stuff at their within their convenience right there on HBO Max. But the thing is, the difference between Disney Plus and HBO Max is there's a substantial price difference. And you and I talked about this when it concerns Netflix. You did not like it, and you were not on board with the price changes when it came to Netflix. And to see that go with HBO Max, they're already starting out at $14.99 already a month. That's a pricey point. That's a price point which I'm not sure a lot of people will handle, no matter what is on that channel.
Yeah, and that's always been. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's always kind of been the reason people have stayed away from HBO, right? Just because it's extra money, it's expensive. You're paying so much money for so little content, and this is where things like Netflix, it makes Netflix seem cheap, in comparison, or Disney Plus seem cheap, Hulu even. Like, what is HBO offering that these channels don't? Because with HBO, there's only 3 or 4 things people are going to go on there and watch. Disney has a lot of movies to watch once you're done with the shows, and Netflix has all that content plus content from other studios. Where in HBO, like, what is the justification for charging that much money per month?
Well, that's the thing. I think that's the thing. They're offering you Friends, I think, as far as to start off with, plus some other foundational shows and programs, and obviously the Friends reunion special that they're also putting on there. I know that they're going to be taping that in the not too distant future and putting that on the network, which is supposed to drive in even more business. But again, the price point is going to matter to a lot of people, and I think people are able to go ahead and carry more than one if it's priced the way Disney Plus is, and also as well the way Netflix is. I mean, you can have one high price and one low price. That seems to be the numbers right now. People are having, when it concerns Disney Plus, they're having Disney Plus, but they're still not getting rid of their Netflix. They're having both, or they're having the package, whether it's Hulu, ESPN, and Disney Plus combined, or they're getting CBS All Access and they're keeping Netflix. So it's a point where they're keeping both, one high priced and one lower priced, but having HBO Max and Netflix, that's going to be $30 a month. That gets you into that type of range as far as price point is concerned. And that, to me, I think for a lot of people is just, that's too much. So I think a lot of people will be bailing out of one or the other in the not too distant future.
Yeah, and that's when you're going to see a lot of service hopping coming in. You're going to have, I've said this before, Disney Plus is probably the one that I'll always keep consistently. And then the others, I will probably jump around. As far as HBO and Westworld comes out, I'll probably check that out. Or, say there's something on Stars I want to watch, or even Funimation, their app is now available on smart TVs. If there's something there I want to watch, I'll just keep bouncing back and forth, and the ones that I keep consistent will probably be Disney Plus and maybe, maybe Netflix, depending on what kind of releases they got coming up. But it does add, your subscription prices do add up really fast. So that's why like HBO coming in with at $14.99 is not really the best option for them.
Well, if you do have your HBO, as I'm going to be talking about a little bit more with Jessica Boggs here, as I spoke before with Jessica Boggs on her March TV update, if you get a chance and you have HBO or HBO Max, please check out McMillions. It is an outstanding docuseries, and it really is great technically. Production values are through the roof for a docuseries. So if you get a chance, check it out. That's McMillions. They just ended the 6-episode run. It is worth your time, I assure you. And it's just really fascinating if you're into that true crime type of deal, but having a little bit of a pop culture flip on top of it. So a little bit of a taste of pop culture on top of it. So you get a chance, check that out. But amazing stories. Getting back to Apple TV Plus one last time, they need to go ahead and do more. And Amazing Stories is just a little bit part of that. It is something that I think people should give a chance and check out because it's very, it's right there. It's very amusing, family friendly for the most part, and things of that nature. So it's a old concept brought anew again. Amazing Stories from Steven Spielberg. It's available now on Apple TV Plus, but Apple TV Plus needs to do something more. We, Rob McCallum and I talked about buying a studio, maybe Sony, maybe something like that. It's not like they don't have the cash, man, but they do need to make Apple TV more than just a throwaway on your iPhone, your iPad, or your iMac. That's being fixed, by the way.
Yeah, no, I agree. They made so many announcements, and I wonder if they had any specific focus, or they're just trying to hit all those markets at once. The streaming market, the video game market, the TV market. They kind of like fired off in every direction. So it kind of makes me feel like there wasn't a lot of attention paid to each one, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. And it's like I said, it just seems to me right now they're in the stage that Amazon Prime was in back in the earlier days. And it just seemed like it was something throwaway that you would get for free when all you really wanted was the free shipping for Amazon Prime, and that's all you were focused on. Then they got serious. Then they started to put out a lot of quality content on the site, and Amazon Prime became something that was worthwhile and that was special to have. Hopefully for Apple TV Plus gets to that point. Whether or not it does is up in the air, but at least with Amazing Stories and some of the other things that they've got on that network, at least it's a decent start. Not saying it's great, not saying it's bad. Love to see some more stuff, but yes, with Amazing Stories, it's a step in the right direction. What are your thoughts out there on Amazing Stories returning to the airwaves, this time in a streaming fashion with Apple TV Plus? Share us your thoughts, popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Also as well, Pop Culture Cosmos, Humanic Media, and Game Source on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as well. Well, my friend, before we head on out, a couple of last things to note. Neo 2. Are you familiar with the game? It just came out, and it is a sequel to one of the best-rated games of 2017.
It was one that I did always want to play, and I never got around to it. I know Brian Wegner from Super BS is pretty into that game. He's always has great things to say about it. What I know it is critically applauded, all over the industry. But what's going on with it? Tell me about this sequel.
Well, the sequel is getting outstanding reviews either almost as well or just a little bit under what the first one did, but it is just something that I think a lot of people who are into the the games that are out there that really make it harder for you to go ahead and complete. I think if you really love those games where you're dying, but you're learning each time you're dying, so eventually you will go ahead and succeed against whoever they put, whatever the game puts in front of you. Is this something that a lot of people are really looking forward to? Bloodborne was in that type of context.
Like Dark Souls does that too.
Exactly. That's something that a lot of people really truly loved. And then Neo came out, like I said, under the radar, but was very involved in the video game awards as far as being up there, highly rated. It was very well thought of, and this seems to be something that a lot of people are really enjoying as well.
Yeah, I'm interested. I do want to play the first one still. The game itself, Neo 2, looks beautiful, and it is a welcome thing in this dry spell we're having. Right, we're not getting a lot of games until April's actually this month, right? With Animal Crossing is kind of the big release here, so it is a welcome thing. I know Ori and the Will of the Wisp came out too, and that one's everyone's calling that practically a perfect game. So I'm excited to dive into that one as soon as I finish playing the one I got going right now.
That could also be another Game of the Year contender. So this was actually a very good week for video games, where you had not only one, but two highly rated games to hit the market.
Yeah, so that'll be nice. And with Doom coming out and Animal Crossing coming out on tomorrow, no, the 20th, I think, it'll be nice to have new things to play, and that'll probably be followed shortly by Final Fantasy, and then Cyberpunk, hopefully, and then Ghost of Tsushima. So I'm hoping we'll have a steady release of games up until the new consoles are released. And, again, we'll have to talk about E3 on another show and what some of the things coming out of that are. I'm expecting we'll hear more from these companies about doing their digital presentations as opposed to, doing the live things at E3 this year, because E3 was canceled.
That's correct. They're going to have to think about other options for the games that they were intending to announce, features that they were intending to announce. If Xbox One X was going to go ahead and be even more described in detail, we're going to have to hear more about what plans are being changed with the cancellation of E3, hopefully in the coming weeks, and you'll hear it right here on the Pop Culture Cosmos. Well, my friend, it's been a great episode, but before we head on out, we got to touch on movies, because this might be, at least for a little while, one of the last weekends for any type of movie releases, whether they're, anything right now that's being distributed here domestically in over 3,000 theaters. And there's a few that are coming out this weekend. We'll start off with The Hunt, which was a movie that was delayed because there was so much controversy, because it's people hunting other people, dealing with a lot of political divisions and things of that nature. So that one's out finally. Whether or not it does well, I think it's still up for debate, so to speak. And that one is out right now and available at the theaters if you decide to go ahead and do it. There's also, as far as I Still Believe, that's the sequel to, what was it? Oh, that is the sequel. That's the sequel to, as far as a 2018's I Can Only Imagine. So if you get a chance to go ahead and check that out, it's available on theaters now. That's probably going to be the movie that maybe wins this weekend at the box office, but it's not exactly, a sure thing, because we don't even know what to expect. And that's the thing. When you go to Box Office Mojo, they're actually utilizing what the studio expects at this point in time. They're no longer making guesses right now, because the everything is just so fluid, and it's such a state of flux with the coronavirus and all that for theaters. You don't know which ones are closing, which ones are staying open. It's all up in the air. And internationally, with so many different markets closing at this point in time, or already closed, such as Italy, South Korea, China, things of that and places of that nature, it's really hard to gauge exactly if any of these movies are going to do well overseas. But last but not least, my friend, is Bloodshot. Bloodshot is starring Vin Diesel in a role where he dies as a soldier, but gets some type of, I think, nanotechnology that's implanted in him, so he becomes a super soldier and all that. And then the individuals that go ahead and help build him or help bring him back to life, they're evil people. He finds out about it. So they go ahead and he becomes a good guy and goes after the bad guys, and yada 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 yada. Really not stretching that far the imagination. You were talking about IGN's rating on that and said it was a good popcorn flick. They only gave it a 6, my friend, but I have a feeling that's probably one of the highest scores out there. Vin Diesel hasn't made much of a waves as far as outside of the Fast and Furious and Guardians of the Galaxy series for quite some time now. He's had a lot of misses when it comes to the movie theaters to the movies that have not touched on those two subjects. So I want to hear your thoughts, man. Where's Vin Diesel's career gone wrong, so wrong, outside of Fast and Furious and the Guardians of the Galaxy?
Well, he's an actor that had a really hard time making his way into the spotlight. He did a ton of indie flicks, Boiler Room, Knockaround Guys, but Pitch Black was an indie flick when it first came out. He's had a hard time breaking into the mainstream, and I think when he finally did with Fast and Furious, and that was a movie that took itself very seriously. So if you watch that one, you would never guess that the franchise was going where it's gone. He started typecast himself. Even look at Triple X, right? He was the same exact person. He played that character who just did over the top things, and it didn't matter what he said because it was in a context of being cheesy. And I think people are afraid to cast him in serious roles because of that. And we've seen that happen with movies like The Last Witch Hunter, like you said, Bloodshot is proving to not be that great. I'm trying to think what else he's been in. There's one where he was a lawyer.
Oh, but that's the thing. He just hasn't done anything of substance outside of these hit franchise movies. Should he just stay involved with that, or do you think he should just keep on going for the paycheck with some of these, other roles that he never seems to be successful with?
Well, look at Fast and the Furious, right? As long as that franchise exists, he will make money. He has absolutely nothing to lose by being in other movies, as long as they're planning on making another Fast movie, because that's where he's going to make his paycheck. So what does he have to lose? And then the big question here is, once the Fast franchise ends, what is going to become of Vin Diesel, outside of Guardians of the Galaxy? And, I hope that they would have one more Riddick film just to kind of finish that story that came out, when I was in the 6th grade. I'd love to see that come to an end, but what's next for him, right? He has always played better side characters too, even in Saving Private Ryan. Look at Groot. It's just I don't know if he has the star power to hold his own beyond the Fast and the Furious franchise.
And that's the thing, because like you said, he has typecast himself pretty much in a hole, and unfortunately at this point in time, there's no way, or at least it's not looking anyway, that he's going to get out. What are your thoughts out there on Vin Diesel's Bloodshot? And do you think Vin Diesel's career is over outside of the Fast and Furious and anything he does with Guardians of the Galaxy? Share us your thoughts, popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Also as well, Pop Culture Cosmos, Humanica Media, and Game Source on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as well. And please let us know if you're playing two of the brand new games that are out on consoles at this point in time, Neo 2 or Ori and the Will-O-Wisps. And the Will-O-Wisp? And Ori and the Will-O-Wisp.
Will of the Wisps.
Will of the Wisps.
That's hard to say.
Yes, Ori and the Will of the Wisps. Ori and the Will of the Wisp. There you go.
We need a blooper reel just of you trying to say that.
Will of the Wisp. There you go. Well, all right, my friend. It's been a great episode. I cannot thank you enough for being a part of it. Any last thoughts on the way out?
No, it'll just be interesting to see where things are by this time of next week.
Well, it is going to be interesting to see where we are as a country and as a world, as a species, what's going on with the coronavirus. We're going to keep giving you updates on how it's affecting pop culture each and every Monday and Friday. Please tune in. We will not be going away, at least as far as we can help it is concerned. So everyone out there, please stay safe, practice good hygienic habits, and be healthy. Stay healthy. From all of us here at the Pop Culture Cosmos, Josh, it's been great having you on once again. And please, on behalf of myself and my family, please, your family, be safe as well.
Thanks, man. You too.
So for Josh Peterson, this is Gerald Glassford. It's another beautiful day in paradise right here in the PCC Multiverse. We thank you for listening. And thank you for watching as well. And here's hoping you have yourself a great